Writing ionic and covalent compounds. 3.1, bonding. To name chemical compounds and to write chemical formulas. You need a periodic table and you need to be able to look up the oxidation charge for any metal and any non-metal. And once you found the oxidation charges, then use the crossover method to cross over. This 2 would cross over down to the bottom of chlorine, while the 1 would cross down to the bottom of calcium. And you would end up with this formula here, CaCl2. Some more examples. Once the oxidation charges have been crossed over, these are some examples of those compounds. Notice that the ones that end in IDE are from the periodic table as a single element at the end. However, the ones that do not end in IDE, that are right here, they have a polyatomic ion at the end of their compound and not just a single element. Here's some more examples of using the crossover method. Notice when a 2 is crossed over to sulfur and a 2 is crossed over to the magnesium, that the resulting subscript has been reduced because you have a common denominator to reduce the subscript for magnesium sulfide in the final chemical. Here's more examples of using the crossover method to get your formula. Notice where you have the same charge, such as a positive 2 and a negative 2. So it's now time for you to practice some. You need a sheet of paper out and number your paper 1 through 24 as you work through these problems. Some of your problems you may need more than one line, so number them as you do them. So if you're given a formula like you are this side and you're asked to name it over here, use your periodic table to name those correctly. Remember that if your compound ends in a single nonmetal item like bromine or chlorine, that the ending would be IDE over here. If it's not going to be IDE, then that's telling you need to look back and look at your polyatomic ion list. Find your polyatomic ion named nitrate as part of your compound over here. Remember, your Roman numerals are telling you the charge for that first element when you write your formulas that you'll need to cross over to become the subscript for the last part of the compound. This one brings us back to practicing the prefixes for covalent compounds and then identifying and naming some covalent compounds. These compounds are different. These are made out of 2 nonmetals from the side of the periodic table on the right side, and those do not transfer electrons, so they're not considered ionic compounds. So they have to be named differently because they are not using charges to show the number of electrons being transferred. So in these compounds, you will use prefixes in their names. So again, these compounds are examples of 2 nonmetals bonded together. So these are going to be requiring prefixes in their name. Match these up from the right side to the left side of which name would go properly with each of the compounds. Then turn in your work when you're finished.